panelists, as Lori and I always try to do when we reach the end of these, webinar series, bringing in experts, not just locally, but literally nationally with us here today. And I know that they are incredibly eager to share some of their best content marketing tips in order to ultimately help you continue to plan and grow your business. I'm Will Jurgensen, the Director of Client Experience here at Keystone Click, and ultimately your facilitator for today's panel discussion. This webinar series is brought to you by Keystone Click. We are a strategic digital marketing agency focused on helping our clients achieve their goals. Since 2008, we've worked with organizations nationwide, helping them bring clarity to their message and strategy to their growth. Visit keystoneclick.com to learn a little bit more. Here is the flow for today. We're going to start with some questions directed at our panelists. Then ultimately, we're going to open it up for questions from you, the audience, as well. So please take some notes, have some questions ready to go. You can use the chat feature or the Q&A feature in order to submit those questions. I will see them, and when the time is appropriate, I will ask them to our panelists. So without any further ado, let me introduce who we have with you here today. Barbara Ray is the Director of Growth and Innovation for WIC Marketing in Austin, Texas. She has an innate passion for reputation for creating meaningful and productive connections between brands and their customers and between WIC and its prospective clients. Barbara brings 2 decades of editorial and marketing expertise and more than a decade of social media leadership to any challenge. Social media and blog content strategy and planning, particularly in the real estate sector, are her specialty. Solutions-oriented, she is all about driving results through impactful and strategic content to create client success. Barbara, welcome.
Thank you. It sounds really good when you say all that. Thank you.
It's all about the fluctuation in the voice, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, we have Claire Lauer. Claire of CL Content Marketing helps you find your voice online and turns followers into customers without adding more to your to-do list. Break through the digital noise and find what messaging speaks to your dream client in an authentic way to attract and convert. Let's develop a winning content marketing strategy to tell your brand story online using social media, email marketing, blogging, and SEO strategies. Claire, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here. How can I hire you to introduce me at everything? Great.
There is an option. We'll get to that. No question. As we move along, Nicole Bernard. Nicole started her entrepreneurial journey in 2007 with an organic farm and microbrewery in the Cascade Mountains of the Pacific Northwest. I believe she's coming to us from Oregon. At that time, she was in charge of all things marketing, from events to social media to website design. After closing the doors, Nicole wanted to take what she had learned from the experience and help other small businesses. For the next couple of years, she was working at a digital marketing agency and expanded her marketing chops by learning the systems, tools, and strategies implemented by agencies to achieve massive growth. After her father passed away in 2016, she realized life was very short and decided to branch out onto her next entrepreneurial journey, her own digital marketing agency and marketing coaching company called NB Marketing. Nicole, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, we have Lori Hybe. Lori is the CEO and founder of Keystone Click, which is a strategic digital marketing agency serving B2B industrial manufacturers and professional service organizations across the United States. Lori began Keystone Click in 2008 and as the leader of the helm still today. Lori, welcome.
Woohoo! Excited to be here.
All right, let's get started. Now we get to the fun part here, the Q&A. Again, attendees, please, by all means, listen in, take notes, and throughout today's panel discussion, feel free to submit questions. Barbara, we're going to start with you. As we are diving deeper into content marketing, I think this is a really good place to begin. Why do brands need a social media content strategy, and where the heck do they even start?
That's a great question. One of my favorite things to talk about. You need a content strategy for social media so that you're weaving a really good, consistent story of your brand over time. People may encounter you one post at a time, but all of those need to layer together to really represent the story that you're trying to tell. It's really easy and tempting to just post this great photo that you just took of your whatever it is. And if it fits, great, but resist that urge and just continue to track things back to this strategy. If you've got a written strategy with a good plan, that's going to be your continuous litmus test of, is this something we should post? Am I doing it in the right way? Is it going to help me or is it going to hurt me? Obviously, only do the things that help. And then most importantly, start with who you're creating the content for, your audience. What do they care about? What's going to resonate with them? And continue to measure and monitor against that. What are they responding to? And again, is it supporting and tracking with your strategy? And it should include just this beauty of two-way communication. It should resonate with what you're learning back from that audience, whether it's the metrics and the insights or the conversations that you're having. And that should continue to help that strategy evolve over time, so that you can learn what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we continue into this idea of what works and what doesn't work, Lori, I'm going to move to you for our second question here. How important is text compared to images or video and even audio? Does any one type of content, do or perform better than another?
That's a great question, Will. And I like how Barbara commented on really understanding your audience and who it is that you're actually creating content for, because that's a big factor into how I would answer that question, is understanding your audience and how they digest this information. So some people do like to watch things, others prefer to listen, some want to read. If you just look at the data at the large scale, video is performing very well right now, and definitely an advocate of video. But what's more important is understanding your customer and creating the content that is going to make them want to continue to digest more of that type of content.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of that, right, coming together with the ultimate goal of trying to develop a winning content strategy. So Claire, I'm going to put you on the hot seat kind of right off the bat here, right? What are, the right expectations for developing a winning content strategy?
Yes, expectations, such a good thing to talk about, and something that I have to make sure I really educate, my audience and my clients on what to expect from your winning content strategy. If you've never gone live before on Instagram and you go live today, are you going to make money? No, maybe, I don't know what you're selling, but it's repetition. It's consistently showing up using a plan, a strategy, like Barbara kind of laid out. It's kind of spending a few weeks, few months, sort of learning, what does your audience really, what do they like what Lori just said. I mean, if you're just posting text, for example, on your LinkedIn, you're like, I'm not really getting much engagement. You got to tweak it. Maybe you got to push yourself and make a couple videos. Oh, now the videos are getting more views, more engagement. And now after a few more weeks, you can start to drop in a link. Hey, subscribe if you want to hear more, or join me on my panelist webinar coming up, and start drawing them in to work with you. But it's not one and done. And so it's always tough to hear, I did a live video and I didn't get any viewers. Well, it's the first time. You have to consistently show up with a strategy in front of your audience, and it will take time. I try to think about, what's that, if someone asked me well, how long should I expect? I mean, really it takes, I'd say 3 to 6 months minimum to really get some good traction. So hopefully that helps sort of frame the right expectations when you are kicking off a content strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're kicking it off now, we're in 2021, right? I mean, God bless you, 2020. Nice to see you. Great to see you walk away, right? Type of thing. So, Nicole, let's focus on 2021, right? I mean, what are some trends currently that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to piggyback kind of on what Lori said, that, we all know video and live streaming is king, but it just continues to keep going that way. So, if you want to really reach the masses in 2021, video and live stream is one of the best ways you can start to do that. And then I also wanted to touch on stories features. Like Barbara was saying, storytelling in general is such a integral part of an effective content strategy, but the actual stories features, you'll notice that all 4 of the big dogs, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, they all have that feature now, because we all want to see behind the scenes. And they're the little snippets that last for 24 hours. And it's just a different viewpoint of connecting with brands. So it's a great way to just connect on various platforms of where your ideal customers would be. And the last one I just wanted to mention too is repurposing content is also going to be a big strategy, and sharing user-generated content. But like Lori and Barbara mentioned, know your audience first and just make sure you're sharing that content that would still resonate with your audience.
As the kids in the virtual schoolyard are saying, video is so hot right now. Um, totally agree. So let's get a little bit more focused here. So I'm excited about kind of, we're huge advocates at Keystone Click for blogs and writing blogs because of just the fresh content that it allows, your website and allows for you to distribute across your social channels. So Barbara, I'm going to come right back to you. What makes for an effective blog strategy, and why would a small business or a big business or a solopreneur even need one?
A great question. And an effective blog strategy is going to start with your goals. Like, what are you trying to do in the first place? What's success look like for your company, for your brand? Is it increased traffic to your website, more time spent on the site, click-throughs to a chat, results from the call to action that you have in the blog? One of the things that I especially love about blogs, though, is that it is your own content, and you're not at the whim of what Facebook decides to do tomorrow, or everybody's running over here to TikTok or to Clubhouse or something else. You've always got that at your home base of your website, and it's evergreen. It's going to continue to drive traffic over time. And so part of your strategy goes into that. What kind of content is going to have legs for a while? It's going to serve you really well consistently and can continue, as Nicole and Claire, you were both talking about, that you can continue to share that content out in different ways and repurpose the content like that. As we've all been talking about, remember who you're writing for and what do they need? What do they need to learn from you? What's going to help them better buy the thing you're trying to sell, or better engage with and understand your brand? That's your content that they're going to seek and find, whether they know your brand yet or not. So that'll continue to attract people to the brand and provide value to them once they're there. You want to tell a good story. You want the writing to be good. You see, I think some of the blogs that offend me personally the most are the ones that are written for SEO first, and it's repeat, and in my opinion, you've lost people after the first line, and maybe it's doing a little something, but if you actually get them to come to your website through the SEO and then they read it, you're losing them again. So have respect for the reader, provide value, write with some effort to make it good and interesting and something that they enjoy reading, that they're glad that they found. Well-crafted copy is really the priority with all of that. And you have to do more than just build it and hope they come. Like, they might, and some might, but if you're smart in your strategy and distributing that through your email programs, through your social media, that's going to help continue to bring that traffic back to your website. And when you share it out in social, put some money behind it, it's going to go further for you. It's going to continue to make that work longer for you. And then the other thing I'd say is that planning is your best tactic. The better you can plan. You both, Claire, all three of you actually have talked about this, but just planning ahead and knowing what you're talking about and why and who you're writing it for, the better you do that, the fewer misses you're going to have. And that is the best use of your resources, your time and money that you're putting into this in the first place.
Right. And I'm sure, all of us in the agency space, we can relate to this idea of time and money, right? Specifically, the money component, whatever that may be, but ultimately that comes back to ROI, or our return on investment. So Claire, to just kind of continue right on this great trajectory, how do you measure the effectiveness of a content strategy?
Yes. And, with this, there's two things to track. And the one that kind of trips up a lot of business owners would be the vanity metrics. So like likes on a post, what else? Likes, comments, shares, very important metrics. It gives you definitely a temperature of like, oh, people like this post. That's great. But so that's vanity metrics. But the meaningful metrics, that's what you really want to focus on and really helps you prove the ROI. So, okay, 10 people liked your post, but how many clicked to the website? How many, did the call to action that you gave? That's really where the magic is. And on, we all want likes, let's be honest, like, ooh, like they all like my post. But if I get like, I don't know, 2 likes on a post, but I got 10 clicks to my site and I got 2 subscribers, boom, I will take that any day over, 100 likes on a post. But like I said, I sometimes talk to business owners like, I'm not really getting likes. They'll say my social media is not doing well. And I kind of will deep dive in a strategy session or whatever, and kind of dig into their metrics, to their analytics, to their website analytics. And I'll say, listen, like, you got 400 clicks from Facebook. I told a business owner that at a strategy session this month. She was blown away. I showed her the analytics. I said, you're getting 400 clicks from Facebook to your website. She was like, what? And she was about ready to like give up, or she thought she had to like spend more money, So now that she knows that, she's like, oh, well, I am getting traffic from Facebook, and the time on page was pretty good. I can't remember. It was over a minute an average from Facebook. So I'm like, they're going to your site and they're looking around. So like, don't keep it up on Facebook. And yes, you're not getting the likes, like, well, like, let it go. But I get it. It's like that's what they're called, vanity metrics. So you need both, because the vanity metrics, they give you the insights. I mean, if you're getting no clicks to the site and no likes, I mean, yes, tweak the post. But if you're getting the likes and engagement on the social posts, what do you need to do to kind of add the call to action and link them back, get them to your site or to sign up or, whatever. So really understanding those 2 types of metrics and then focusing on the meaningful, like, okay, so the business owner I just mentioned, and now she's like, oh, I see now, I am getting traffic from Facebook. I'm not going to give up on this platform. And now that she's already, in my mind, doing really well, how can she kind of replicate and sort of expand to other channels? I feel like I got a little lost in my answer because I get really excited, but hopefully that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, for sure. And I think it's so important, right? I think we are often very much distracted by the likes and the comments and things like that. And we don't take it the next step, right? And actually say to ourselves, hey, what is the true purpose of this content, whether it's on social media, blog, what is that call to action, right? So I think that was great. I really appreciate your response there, without question. And Nicole, again, we're coming right back to you here because Barbara she opened the door to this, right? And speaking about, not just writing and planning and preparing, but also speaking to that proper audience, so how can our attendees here today make sure that they're creating the right kind of content for their ideal audience?
Yeah. I feel like when I talk to a lot of business owners, we're all so excited to jump in and start. And so sometimes they don't think about what, their clients are struggling with, or, what's keeping them up at night, or how they're consuming content, So it's just like, you want to sit back and think like, okay, so say you're selling like RVs, like, would your ideal customer be hanging out on Clubhouse or TikTok? Probably not, but they probably are on Facebook. They might be, but they're probably on Facebook, looking at pictures of their grandkids. So it's really just to take a few, like, just a little while, just takes a little while to brainstorm, how do they consume it? Where do they consume it? Like I said, their struggles, where are their friends? Where do they get their influences from? So you can hit those different channels in different ways. And then again, like Claire said, looking at the analytics, like you can see if they are engaging with it, on the website, on your email, are they opening, are they clicking through, the social media, if they're resonating with it. So yeah, just being able to have a clear view of what kind of content they want to consume and the topics that they're struggling with and how you can meet them there, and then following it up with those analytics just to make sure you're on the right track, and you'll start to see trends to keep going.
Absolutely, right. Don't be afraid to kind of work backwards, right?
Right.
What are their pains? What are their issues? Understanding that, and then producing the content accordingly. And you spoke about it, right? Not just the right audience, and speaking to that right audience, but where are they, right? What platform are they even on, right? Because we oftentimes may make assumptions about where we think they are. And with that, there are so many new channels and platforms popping up. So Lori, I'm coming back to you to kind of finish out round 1 here, with all of these new channels and platforms that are popping up, where should we be, or how important is it to jump onto these platforms?
I would say it depends is always the answer to my question. Any questions? Personally, I jump on because this is the world that we're in, and I need to at least test the waters, see what it's all about, so I can speak intelligently about it to our audience, our clients, our customers. But if your audience is typically an early adopter, then I would say it doesn't hurt to go in and really get an understanding of who that audience is. But and you know, the word that's being repeated over and over and over again here is really understanding your customer and that audience and figuring out where are they really spending their time. Instead of stretching yourself too thin and trying to be everywhere and be everything to everybody, it's just best to pick one platform, start there, know that that's where your customer is, and dominate that space instead of trying to put your message out everywhere. You can jump on the new channels if you'd like. Again, it's understanding how that channel works, understanding who is leveraging and using that channel, and just understanding how your customer is consuming the information that you're going to be publishing.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. At this point in time, we're going to move to what I really enjoy this section of our panel conversation because I get to take a little breather and the four of you have an opportunity, you know, as experts in the industry to ask each other some questions. I do at this point in time just want to remind our attendees to potentially start entering some questions that you would like after this portion. We are going to go out to the attendees and thank you to a couple of you who have already submitted some questions. So let's get started. Lori, I believe you are going to kick us off with a question for Claire.
I am. Claire, how can a brand that has limited resources get started?
Yes, and so good. And I get asked this too, you know, startup, a small local business. They'll say, I don't have the dollars. I don't have the money. I can't pay to play on Facebook. Too bad for me. And I go, no. Like there are strategies that you can do to help build your audience and increase your reach. Because really like marketing, it's kind of a numbers game. You got to get your message out there and keep going to reach your target audience. So I kind of have 3 quick ideas to share. First, I'm coming back to it. Consistency. Be consistent. Consistently post on social media. If you're listening and you're like, I don't know what that means, I'm going to tell you at least 3 times a week. Shoot for that if you can. On like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I don't even know about TikTok. Every day, I don't know. Let's forget about TikTok. Consistency. Keep if you're going to do an email newsletter once a month, do it once a month. Don't let it go. So stay consistent. The second one would be to connect. So don't just post and ghost, you know, make sure you have time for engagement, especially like LinkedIn, I'm getting such good engagement, you know, people commenting on my posts, my articles, and make sure you respond and invite them. Don't be shy. If someone's like, oh, I really like this post, say, I'm really glad you found value. Here's a link to another podcast I did that's similar, or check out this other blog, or, you know, keep the conversation going. And don't be afraid just to send them a message. Hey, I saw you liked my post last week about SEO. I saw this article or podcast, I want to send it to you. That great connection. And the third, which I love, which we're doing right now, collab. So if you don't have a big budget, is there somebody you can reach out to in it's complementary industry or similar industry and say, hey, let's do a live show together. Let's, you know, do a panelist. Hello, great idea right here. And, you know, then you're promoting it to all your audiences. You're bringing like the star power, but there's no cost to it. Oops, spoiler alert! I didn't pay anything to do this. But it's a free, low cost way to really get your message out to more people and to build relationship, back to connection. So three ideas, and I just realized they're all C's. So the CCC, there you go. Connect. What is it?
Fun.
Connect, collab, and consistency. Wow.
Nicely
Perfect.
done.
Trademark it.
Wow. My turn. So I get to ask Miss Barbara a question. I just met her yesterday and I already like love her. So Barbara, so that's coming up with good content just never ends. We're always trying to like post. We keep harping on consistency to these wonderful viewers. So what are some tips for coming up with these good ideas that you have?
First, Claire, I just want to say thank you for referring to us as being anything related to star power, because I think that's very cool. So, but it's a really legitimate concern. I know in our shop, it's blogs and social media calendars and all of that. It's like every single day come up with some new way to say maybe the same thing you've said for the last 6 months, but in a fresh way, no kidding. And so that's a real challenge. And it's also a challenge because the environment can shift and change. And so you've got to really stay tapped into that. The best first place to start is, again, pull out that strategy. What is it you're trying to do? Who are you trying to do it for? Why? What's success look like? Let's not forget any of all of that. Start there, but then keeping in mind everything needs to track back to that. Start thinking in the topic buckets or content buckets is how some people think about it. And that might help to organize the thinking. We work with a lot of builder and master plan developers. So maybe those buckets might be, how are we going to talk about home? How are we going to talk about community? How are we going to talk about the land or location or something else? But then that gives you at least a way to start thinking about how to stratify the content. But then maybe picture a calendar with different layers, overlays coming on top of that. The easiest one to plan ahead for are things like holiday posts. Like, it's going to be St. Patrick's Day. No kidding. Plan it now. Whether you create the post or not now, you're going to be doing that. If you've got a marketing calendar that says you've got certain campaigns or promotions coming up every quarter, every month, whatever, layer that on. And then evergreen brand content, a Facebook Instant Experience, for example, takes some time to create. It's really beautiful, creative. Make that be something that you have in market with your advertising for 6 months, maybe, but make it count. And then that's another thing that you're putting out there. The blogs that we've been talking about, those are great for content to be shared into social media, and maybe different ways. If you've got good, rich blog, there might be 4 different angles for which you're creating a social post to share that content. What's your competition doing? And what are they talking about? And what seems to be working well for them? Can that maybe trigger some ideas for you there? Who's your ideal customer? We've all talked about this in different ways, but like, what do they care about? What are they responding to? What is pressing on them right now? If for example, your target customer is a mom with school-age kids, well, there's plenty that she has needed over this last year. So is there content that provides value to that reader? You should be sharing that. And then what terms related to your business are people searching for? What is top of mind enough for them that they're looking for? And go to trends.google.com and start digging and playing around there. And it's really fascinating to see what shows up and in what region, and what are people really hot after learning more about, and what aren't they? And that can trigger some ideas too. That, and then lean on your team of people for brainstorming and just kicking ideas around. Plan ahead over time, keep it relevant to the audience, and then pay attention to what you're putting into market with blogs, yes, but especially with social media. If you wake up and in the morning you've got a post scheduled for that day, and all of a sudden everybody's feed has turned to black squares related to Black Lives Matter, and you're in there talking about daisies, well, guess what? You're tone deaf to what's happening in people's feed that day. Don't be. Pay attention to what's in market. Turn off an ad, delay that post for a week, figure out how you're going to participate in the experience that your users have of what's in front of them that day from their friends and from other brands. And then social media in particular is fluid. It changes all the time. The way you talk about things in social and the way people want to experience things changes. And so be prepared to evolve, track back to your strategy, but evolve how you have your brand show up in those spaces so that you stay relevant and something that people are interested in engaging with.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, Barbara, your turn now to be the question asker.
Yes, very good. So Nicole, people might feel overwhelmed with all of the information that they're getting today. What's one thing that they can take away and start today or immediately put to work?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you said. Well, then also too, I guess I would start with like mindset. Like when I do talk to business owners or, anybody trying to get a marketing strategy, they feel overwhelmed. They feel like it's going to take forever. And it really doesn't have to be like that. So my suggestion would just be take 20, 30 minutes today kind of just go over what we talked about, like what are your goals? Who are you trying to reach? What are their struggles? What are their, the different content buckets or content pillars, whatever you want to call them? How are they going to digest it? Would that be blog, social media, a podcast, things like that? And then also, pull out your calendar, like Barbara said, and kind of start layering in the different topics that that they're struggling with any upcoming promotions that you have, any holidays you have. And as you start to map that out on a calendar, it just feels so much less overwhelming to get started.
Love that.
So I get to ask a question that kind of leads into my question for Lori. We're talking about time and layering things in calendars. How do you efficiently create content?
That's a wonderful question, and I've been labeled a content machine in the last year here. So it all comes down to planning, which is something we've been really emphasizing. And instead of just jumping out there and doing things, and you can stress yourself out by, like, you've got an idea, just got to get it out there right away. Take a step back, build that plan. But efficiency is all about, and you actually spoke to this briefly, Nicole, really maximizing your evergreen content and repurposing information. I'm a huge fan of identifying the trends that are the messaging that's going to last a long time. If you've got something, a product, a service that you offer, you're answering the same questions today that you were answering 3 years ago related to your offering. This is the gold content right here. And this is, you make a blog post or you create a video, and then you pull snippets of it and you create social media posts out of it. You plug it on YouTube, you optimize it so you show up in the channels there, you throw it in your email newsletter. So, one piece of content is easily being pushed out and redistributed and repurposed it across multiple platforms. And you don't have to be one and done. There's no rule that says you post something and it's done and you can never use it again. You can easily reuse this information because chances are very good that it's going to be fresh eyes that are seeing this. And even if someone has seen it already, there's nothing wrong with that. We all know that repetition in marketing is valuable and extremely important. So reuse your content, identify things that have a long shelf life, and maximize it, slice it and dice it and push it out there across as many channels as possible.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for taking the time, not just to answer it, but also ask very provoking questions as well. At this point in time, panelists, I do want to encourage you all to just take a quick moment to enter your contact information. How can people find your agency? How can they connect with you on LinkedIn? If you can just please provide some of that information into the chat, I would really appreciate it. And I know our attendees would certainly really appreciate it as well. With that, we have officially begun our Q&A portion. Again, thank you to those who have submitted a couple of questions thus far. You still have time if you have been thinking about something, or if we haven't covered it, or if one of our panelists has, kind of hinted at something that you're interested in, you'd like for them to take a little bit of a deeper dive. So I'm going to start us off here. This is a question for all four of you, again, maybe just 30 seconds, because a lot of you have hit on it already, right? Nicole, I love how you challenged the attendees today. Okay, you spent the time to be here today. Don't just, move quickly to the next thing, right? Maybe take 20 minutes to actually think about, what it is you learned, what your biggest takeaways are, and how you can implement them. Claire and Barbara and Lori as well, right? Talking a little bit about this time and whatnot. So, if all of you can just maybe just quickly, one more polish of, how much time does someone need to invest in content marketing, for that to be effective? And we'll just go in alphabetical order. So Barbara, please get us started.
Okay. I like that you're starting with first names, because usually with Ray as my last name, it's like toward the end of the line.
Well, and as William, I'm always last. I'm always last. So I should have done last names for sure.
Well, I love that question. And I know that for some people, the most helpful answer is going to be more specific, like Claire, what you offered, like you should do this 3 times a week, or you should, spend X many hours doing a thing. But from where I come, it's, you should do exactly the amount of time it takes to do it well and no less. So like Lori was talking about, pick one channel, pick 5 channels, however many you can support with your time and resources that are available and that makes sense for you to be in the first place. But if you have time to do one really spectacular blog or 4 kind of crappy blogs, do the one, because it's going to have longer legs. It's going to serve you better. You can continue to reshare it over time. Lori, like you were talking about, you can share it in your content in different ways, but mostly it's work you should be proud of and that represents your brand well, because that's going to help the brand the most. I think that's really the most important thing. Do it really well, or don't do that. Do something less.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Claire.
Yes. So just to like build off of what Barbara just said, I'll work with a business owner who, books a strategy session with me, and I'm looking through their channels. Like they have to submit all their social profiles, a couple recent emails, whatever. And there's one recently where I was like, looking at your social media, you posted on Facebook for a few months and then you stopped. And it just doesn't look good. And her answer was, I know, I set up all the profiles. I posted every day. And then I ran out of time, ideas, everything. So that's why we're here. And so just to get her kind of back on track and get started, she really needed like very specific, like, what do I do? And so maybe the panelists will just agree, but just to get a business owner like kind of up and running, I say at least 15 minutes a day. So for me, at 8 a.m. is when I start my workday. It's actually blocked off of my calendar from 8 a.m. to 8:15. I jump on social media. I post my Instagram story that I kind of like topics I pick from. I go on LinkedIn. I engage a little bit. Boom. So my time is limited right now. My schedule's a little limited. That's how I really maximize it. Like I know it's like 15 minutes, that's it. Or maybe to some people that's a lot. But do it while you're drinking your coffee and getting revved up. Just like plug it into your calendar. And I really encourage you to block it in your calendar, because then you'll honor it. You can't can't ignore it. So that's when someone asks me like, well, how much time? 15 minutes a day. So what's that, like an hour a week? I'm not good at math.
I'm not going to fact check you there either. So
an hour-ish a week minimum. More is better. But if I've got a stressed business owner in front of me, feeling like nervous, minimum. And then I touched on this earlier, but just to like bring it back, when someone starts kicking up their content marketing, I did my first live, or, I just started posting on Facebook last month, no business yet, or, I don't see the ROI. You got to stick with it for, I say around 6 months is when you'll really start getting the magic going. So don't give up. If you're in month 1 or 2, keep going. You got to get to like around 6 months of consistently showing up, like we've all been telling you.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Lori.
Well, my favorite answer is it depends.
I am going to chisel that.
Me both.
I should get it tattooed right here. It depends. The reason it depends is it comes down to what's your goal. What is it that you are trying to achieve and accomplish? How aggressive do you want to achieve that goal? Yesterday, actually, Will and I were on a call with a client who, I don't have to get into the details of what we're chatting with them, but they said, we are so busy right now. If people are calling us, we tell them it's going to be a year before we can actually get their product built. Great. That's awesome. But last time we had this conversation, you said you were just looking for work everywhere and their business just goes up and down. So for them, it really is more about just consistently being out there, but at a slow pace, because they're not in any urgency. What's more important is that they stay top of mind so that when someone has the need that they're able to fulfill, they're there instead of just not being there at all. On another flip side of that coin, we've got a new client that we're working with who is very eager to make a big impact right away. So yes, there's going to be more time that needs to be invested because they want to be more aggressive with the goals that they're trying to achieve. So understanding your goals, how aggressive you want to be at achieving those goals is really going to have an impact on how much time you need to invest.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Nicole, this is where you just, call your parents afterwards and you get a little upset about, naming you with an N, and that's why you were last. But please finish it off for us.
Yeah. Ditto with what everybody said. Like, I agree with everything. And I love that Claire said to jump on. I tell my clients all the time too. It's like, okay, we can do a scheduler, but you still have to get on. I mean, it's a two-way street. If you want to get engagement, you want to get action. And I also want to say, don't get discouraged, because it does take a little while. And then lastly too, you get quicker. The more you do it, the more you're versed, and you get into a rhythm, and you know what people are liking, you know what you're publishing, where it's going, when it's going, with that calendar that we keep talking about. It gets easier.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. This is a good one. And this is actually a topic that we haven't covered quite yet. I'm curious if each one of you can maybe just pick one of your favorite tools that you use, resources that you use for, helping you produce content, whether it's free or whether it's paid, whatever that looks like, that maybe our attendees can check out as well and help, them in their own content production.
Yeah.
And we'll go backwards. Yeah, Barbara.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Go back, yeah, go back.
All right, Nicole, this is my job. Right? I'm supposed to be the facilitator here. All right. We're going to go backwards by last name, which is literally almost backwards the order anyways. Nicole, please, your favorite tool that you like to utilize.
Oh man, there's like so many, but I'm top of head, I'm going to say Canva. It's so, sorry, Claire. It's so versatile. It's so easy to use. It's got a wide array of just so many different forms of content. And it's just, like I said, it's super easy to use. So I would say canva.com.
And you can schedule out of it now. Do you guys know that?
Mm-hmm.
So
Love
good.
that.
Schedule, you can go live. You can present like a live presentation in there now. Like, it's just, they've got video, they've got images, they've got so many cool things. So
Perfect. Claire, anything other than Canva?
No. Honestly, the Facebook content creator, they've like revamped the platform. It's really cool. I just now you can schedule Instagram, which that was always the killer for me. I had to have a third tool to schedule Instagram, and then I used Facebook, and then I used something else. Well, now like Facebook, you can schedule your Instagram content, which is really good, and the video content creators. So if you haven't used Facebook for your business, I would really recommend setting aside a few minutes and just digging into like the new features. It's pretty cool.
Awesome. Lori.
Oh man, all I could think about is Canva.
Of course.
What are a million different tools within our office?
Well, how about this? We have a couple that are coming in the chat, so I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Plan with two N's.
Plan. I used Planoly before for Instagram. I did love it. It works great, but now, and I can do both in Facebook, so it's one less tool for me to deal with. So
yeah, I mean, we use Sendable internally for ourselves and for a lot of our clients when we are scheduling. I've been using Canva for scheduling, and I love it actually for my personal activities on LinkedIn specifically. What other tools? We like using wave.co to make the wave files for like our podcast. I think that's a really good cool tool to have. You have a static image and there's a little bit of movement, and then you have the transcription of your 30-second audio clip on the actual image, and it produces a nice little video that's easy to share, and people really engage with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for our podcast, we utilize that quite a bit, and it is really great. All right, Barbara, please finish us off here.
So I'm going to mention a tool called Gain, and there's content creation in there. There is scheduling in there. It lets you have a calendar view that you could PDF and share to a client. And it works really nicely for approvals too. So if they're internal or client approvals need to see it in situ, it gives an good opportunity for that. But I'm also with you, Claire, on using the Facebook creative tools, because one, whatever's created there is going to be treated well in the algorithm because they built it and that's what they want to have on the platform. And so it's probably going to give you a little bit of performance, but also they are quite user friendly too. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Stacy, Kat, who's a wonderful advocate at Keystone Click, has a specific question for you all, and I'm just going to open it up, and I'm going to read it. You know, as a photographer, which she is, a wonderful one at that, she of course thinks that photography is a very important factor in creating your first impression. People on Zoom, people Zoom through. Oh my gosh, like I have to think about how to use the word Zoom now. Like I forget that. People
the
Zoom.
actual verb Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. People Zoom through profiles and look for people who catch their eye, right? And she can always tell people to use the same profile headshot everywhere for quick recognizability. Do you all have any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the same headshot. Like if, like for me, like you want the same headshot across all platforms. Yeah, because that's brand awareness and like building visibility. Also with photography too. I was gonna say this is a tool, but Unsplash for like free stock photos, but I really, really, really push and recommend and educate on the importance of branded photography for your business. Even if you're a solopreneur, like I'm a solopreneur and I did a photo shoot this summer, and really got some good flat lay photos and just tons of good photos for my social media because I think I wasn't sticking out. I think I was blending in because I was trying to sneak in some Unsplash photos. So if you need somewhere to start and you're looking for some good, nice, high quality photos that you can use, Unsplash definitely. And I see Stacy saying Unsplash is cool, but your own photos are king. I would agree with that.
Totally. Yeah, I'm an advocate of consistency. I mean, we've been talking about that. And if you are going to be on multiple channels, you need to be consistent, and not just channels, but the website, your emails, even how you present yourself in person in the real world. You need to have a cohesive look and feel. So, and that's part of your brand. Your look is part of your brand, how you sound, the words you use, how you smell. I mean, these are all things that are your brand, right? So you need consistency. Absolutely, Stacy. And now I probably need to go change my Facebook profile picture.
I know, I feel attacked. I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm sitting here thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, I think I sound pretty much the same, whether it's written or in person or in this environment, but I don't think any of my photos are the same. So thank you. That'll be my takeaway. Go work on that one.
Yeah, I use the same one across all platforms. And then when I do have the option of like a cover photo, I try to keep my logo as the cover photo and then the profile. So they're seeing the logo and the face.
There you go.
So yeah.
Good.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. We have one final question. Stephanie brought it to us, and this will be kind of our closing remarks, but it's a great question to close on. She says, what are your recommendations for merging personal and professional content on social media?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's a good question.
I struggled with that so hard for a long time. I really tried to keep Facebook personal, but the way of the world, and especially how Facebook gives you recommendations on people to connect with, it is what it is. The beauty of these, Facebook specifically, is that you can filter who sees what, so you can identify acquaintances versus, everyone sees it, or segment your posts or remove people to not see certain posts. So sometimes I will do that selectively. But at the end of the day, your brand, regardless if it's personal or professional, it's one cohesive brand. So just be true to who you are. And if you don't want to be authentic in how you present yourself, then there's going to be some issues there.
Yeah, I had a jarring moment. I had an awakening, I'll call it, a couple of years ago. I'd been in business about a year-ish. And I was at a networking event and someone approached me and we said, oh, like you're Claire Lauer, yeah. And we were chatting and ended up kind of sitting together. And she said to me, you are not what I expected. I'm like, what? And she's like, you're so like fun and goofy. And like online, you're just like, I don't know, weird. I don't remember what she said, but that was so jarring. I'm like, oh no, I'm trying so hard to be professional and give off this like aura of like, I don't know, that I'm like the Oprah of marketing, which I am not. Lori is. And finally it was like, I just need to be myself. And so I'm more authentic. I'm more myself with my content, but I also have kind of rules, regulations for myself just to be like PC, to be just brutally honest. Like, I keep it like, I don't say keep it clean because I don't really swear, but like, I don't swear on social media. I swear, like I don't on social media. You'll never find one because it's like I try to just kind of I have to balance that. That's just for me. You know, when the Black Lives Matter stuff came up in June, I had a client call me and he's like, I want to post on my platform, on his business platform. IT training company. You know, we were working really hard to like create this like professional. I just said, let's just wait. Can we wait one day and see how you feel tomorrow? And if you really feel like it's what you need to do to post this, we can talk about that, but let's just give it a day. And the next day we connected and he's like, I posted on my personal Facebook page, but not my business page. I'm like, I think that's a good compromise. So it's kind of my thoughts on all that.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're totally right. It's finding that balance, that mix of what people, you know, 'cause you don't want to flood it either way, but then also too with the different stories options, like I mentioned in the beginning, that's like a nice way to give a glimpse, you know, and they only last 24 hours. And same thing, you can selectively pick who sees those as well. So, you know, you can kind of have two different avenues to balance both of those.
I think that's a really good point, Clara. I like a lot of what you were talking about in terms of the distinction there, and I think we probably share a similar approach. I tend to post a different kind of content when I'm on LinkedIn for the audience of people that I'm talking with there than what I put on Facebook or Twitter or on Instagram. But I have a lot of our clients are connected with me on all of those other social platforms too. And I'm mindful of that, but also more mindful of just, you know, it's like what your parents tell you, you know, like once it's out there, it's out there. Like, you know, what am I willing to live with as representing me, my personal brand? But I especially liked the part where you're talking about with your client, basically saying, let's just give it a hot minute here and decide, you know, like you don't have to post right this second. Let's just stop and think and take a beat. And I think that's some of the best advice when it comes to social media management is just like, you know, you can't take it back once you put it out there, whether it's your personal or you're managing for a brand or your professional platform, whatever it is. It's just so important to be mindful of that and take a minute when that's what you need, especially if you're emotional about it. You should not have your hands on the keyboard.
Yeah,
Just
and I
walk away
agree with
from it.
him. I totally agreed with what he, you know, I'm like, we're on the same
Yeah.
page morally
Yeah.
and everything, but like,
Totally. Mhm.
give it a
Do
second.
not drink and post. Yeah, that's right, Stacy. Also good advice.
Yes.
Awesome. And the last thing I'll add here, and I'm not at any of your level, I'm just kind of the, you know, I'm the facilitator, right? But at the end of the day, if someone realizes that you are a business owner, there's a good chance they're going to do their research, right? All of our clients are doing research. And as part of that is they might view your personal profile as well. So be conscious of that, whether you're an owner or just an employee anywhere. It's just very good reminder. So with that, we are going to officially wrap up today's panel discussion. Lori, Barbara, Claire, Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and present your insights, right? I know that you all work very hard in the spaces that you do, and this is content, this is right information that people pay for. So grateful for your time and your energy and all of your preparation for today's conversation. Thank you to all of our attendees for being with us here today. We hope that you took some great value with you. And as Nicole said, you spend a little bit of time to kind of self-reflect and think about that. And then, of course, everything else that our panelists said today. To sign up for future webinars, you can visit keystoneclick.com/webinars, or you can go to keystoneclick.com/webinars to find resources and offers on each of our panelists here today, as well as our webinars that we have put out thus far. So with that, thank you everyone for a wonderful hour of your time. And we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, week, and month. And we see you back on a Keystone Click webinar soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lori and Will. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Have
you.
fun.
We appreciate you.